So did you, like many analysts predicted, see the CBN's MPC holding the MPR at 14%?
Yeah, I think, the market predicted that the MPR will hold rates at 14%. And maybe some other people also predicted maybe tightening. So we saw that yesterday. CBN was more hawkish, in their stance.
Out of the 7 people who voted in favor of holding the rates, there were also the 3 others who were considering the other macroeconomic conditionalities, the sinking reserves, the fact that the trend in the emerging markets did predict that maybe the CBN could also want to follow suit and raise rates. And there's also the issue of the elevated liquidity that the CBN has to tackle. So where does the market lead, or how do you think the market will react to this holding of the MPR?
Yeah, I think one of the important things CBN considered was FX. Trying to stem the outflow of FX from portfolio investors, and on the other side, also trying to increase supply by trying to get rates down, incentive for investors to come into the country and invest. And so I think that's what is priority now. So what the market to take is, I think, is a good thing, although nobody expected CBN to do otherwise. I think in the past, there have been calls for dropping of rates, but we've seen all of that gone out. Inflation has also bottomed out. Inflation is also on the rise. So everything points to trying to raise rates either at the MPR or by raising rates at the OMO auctions where they mop up liquidity at good rates, trying to invite investors at that window.
So we did hear that as of trading sessions last week, the FX market, fixed income market rather, did begin to look interesting a bit, with interest shifting from what is the normal long-dated DTMs to the short-dated funds. What was interesting about that? What was at play ahead of the MPC's reaction?
Well, I think what happened was the market was expecting OMO rates to close, higher than where it closed. But what we saw was just liquidity management, trying to put funds to use. There was a lot of liquidity in the system. So what we saw was people buying short-tenured bills, just trying to invest while we wait for rates to settle at the longer end of the curve before you actually, find investors. So we'll see what happens. We'll take cues from OMO auctions tomorrow and see what happens there.
So definitely more OMO auctions is one of the ways that the CBN has to use to contend and mop up liquidity in the system. But to what extent do you think the CBN can tinker with OMO rates as a means to attracting more inflows into the economy?
Well, I think you just have to choose. On this side, you choose rates to bring in the FX, or you don't mind and you watch FX, you watch devaluation, and you also watch reserves deplete. But I think, the whole political scenario, elections coming. So I think they'll probably prioritize FX. So they'll probably try to increase interest rates in the short term to keep FX stable, at least till after the elections, I think. So we have a long way to go, really. Long way to go.
There were also arguments that should the MPC decide to hold out on the MPR, that maybe tinkering with the CRR a little might have helped, as opposed to keeping everything status quo like it did yesterday.
Well, maybe tinkering with CRR, but CRR is already, I think the most important thing, where you can put your money to work, is what is important. That's what the investors want to see. So if you give them rates, we've seen that it worked in the past. That when reserves bottomed out like a year ago, we saw rates go on, and you helped with attracting flows. So I think that's what CBN is probably just trying to delay that move, but we'll see what happens. But of course, there is also the good side. The good story is the story of oil. Oil is at $80 a barrel, which is very good.
To what extent can we factor in the oil play to show up the external reserves, really, given the OPEC's benchmark?
Well, I think the play there is it gives the CBN time to make up, their minds. You don't want to, the reaction if oil starts dropping will be, we'll probably see a lot of outflows if, say, you see oil at 70, 60 levels. So at 80 levels right now, it gives the CBN, some room to decide.
But already, as of the previous trading sessions, the CBN did already see some OMO apathy from investors. So to what extent do you think that they can, or what will be the catalyst, the critical factor, attracting interest of investors to the OMO now?
Well, for now, I think one distraction will be the political environment. So what you see is investors trying to stay away and trying to decide, okay, when I want to come back is after the elections. But also we have maturities in the system. And what you don't want is those maturities chasing FX to leave the system. So I think it's a balance. CBN will just keep trying to find the balance to keep investors happy and to find a balance between the outflow and maybe try to get some inflow in the meantime.